And we'll just fill for a minute. And then we'll, figure it out from there. And by we'll figure it out from there, what I mean is I'm going to make them do it because I'm tired.
Yeah. So how about those Hurricanes? I mean, Yankees. I mean, whatever sport.
Go local sports team.
Go local sports team. I did see something talking about the World Cup next year that, so it's going to be in North America, so it's not going to be one country. And the thing that was interesting, I thought, was apparently the normal number of teams in the World Cup is, I think, 36. It's 30 something. I don't remember if it's 32 or 36, but they are increasing the number of teams that play. So it's up into the 40s. That I think it's 48.
Mm-hmm.
So they're increasing so that with the bracket, there's more teams that are in the brackets this go around.
Well, that's just fascinating, I guess.
Well, I mean, I thought
are they just making the groups and the group stages larger?
I think so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't know. With the bigger brackets, that would, I guess, that would add an additional bracket or two, like the groupings. It would add either another group or two to it. But it also is because instead, like, there's normally it's the host country automatically gets in. It doesn't have to like play well because it's the North America World Cup. Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. automatically get in. So instead of just trying to be like, oh, one country, we got to get 3 automatically get in. And that probably changes up the brackets a little bit, which would necessitate the larger brackets. At least that's what I think. I have nothing to back that up.
Dirk is just talking.
Well, I'm trying to fill time. You asked.
Yeah. You don't actually have to make the elimination bracket any larger if you just do the group stages differently, and you're passing through the same number of winners from the group stages into the bracket.
Yeah, Chifuji said that as long as it's divisible by 4, because that's the reason why I was like, I can't remember if it was 32 or 36, and this one I think is 48. It might be. I want to say it's 48 is what they increased it to. Because I was thinking it was 42, but I'm like, that's not divisible by 4, so.
Yeah.
I can't wait till they just give up and make it 128. So that the World Cup, by the time it's over, it'll be time for the next one.
They can just do like what with circuits and just double it every time.
The World Cup is every 4 years?
Yeah. And the Olympics was 24, so it's every 2 years. Which also means that if it's the World Cup is this year, that's the Winter Olympics is this year too. So it's like every 4 years, 3 things happen. There's a leap year, the Summer Olympics, and the election. The presidential election happens every 4 years, and then 2 years after that should be the World Cup and the Winter Olympics.
Which is still every 4 years.
It is, but
okay.
But it's 2 years to the Summer Olympics.
I will come to your house and punch you. Oh, you live way too far away for that now. I will get someone to come to your house and punch you.
We'll say you'll send me a really, mean emoji.
Yeah, a strongly worded letter and a middle finger emoji.
That's okay. I'm used to seeing, what is it, like eggplant and cherry emojis.
Hot.
And then peach emojis.
By the way, hello everybody. I've decided that all of that's just going to be at the beginning of the episode. So
Excellent.
so we're just chatting tonight. We're missing a Brian. He might pop in later. I doubt it. But he's really busy with a trial, and it is, quote, kicking his ass.
That is definitely what he told us.
Well, I guess he said kicking my ass, but
Well, you know.
so it wasn't really a quote.
Kicking an ass.
It is kicking
There we go.
some ass.
And that
So-
would be Brian's that is being kicked.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Oh, Chifuji said, have any of you seen how hype soccer fans get in every other country besides the U.S.? I was in South Korea in 2006, and our college lounge became standing room only every day.
Yeah. The last World Cup, because it happened during school, the number of kids that I was ready to strangle over their phones and Chromebooks because they were watching the Olympics watching the World Cup as opposed to, class. I almost I was not happy. To say the least.
I
But
think I
yeah.
should start beating people. I mean, what?
No, because if I had projected the game behind me, then we never would have gotten anything done in class. At least with them doing on their phone, the only people distracted were the people paying attention to it and not everybody else.
That was a response to something in chat.
Yes, that
Dirk
was a
did not
response to something in
mishear
chat.
me and assumed that I said something about projecting the game behind him.
That's true. Your microphone, the recording is picking you up, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just double checking. Because that would also be one where, in the recording, it's Mike and I talking to a ghost, a figment of our imagination, Ghost Chewie.
Shared hallucination.
I really hate it when that happens, I'm not going to lie.
But yeah, I've had several people from church that, like one person's from Colombia, and she said, yeah, whenever the Olympic, no cars run, the streets are empty. Like you could hear a pin drop in the middle of the capital of Colombia when the World Cup is going on because nothing is happening. There's literally nothing. Everyone is home watching the game.
TV. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we were asking him, and that's what she says. Like it was the weirdest sensation that you're in the middle of this major city, and there's nobody there.
I don't understand how entire, giant populations of the world get all hung up on a sports ball game.
Because it's a sports ball game, Chewie.
I guess.
It's exciting.
Sure, we'll go with that. I mean, it is if you get into something like it is, but that's like on an individual level, getting high. Like the old man and I used to like scream at hockey games back in the day when we would watch the Penguins play. But like, that's two people, not the whole country. Like England has it so bad that they're like gangs that sprout up around individual teams. And there's a name for it, like soccer hooligan.
Yeah.
That's just a thing that's understood to be a fact of life. Like, I don't understand you people. But then, you know, in this country, whatever team wins the Super Bowl, their city riots. So, you know, all right. Good thing the Panthers will never win another. Anyway.
Oh, no, I'm sad.
I'm not actually in Charlotte, so I don't really care.
I'm about to say.
I did have to drive through it yesterday though.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Yeah.
You went to Carowinds.
Yeah.
How was that?
I went. So I took the kid, my friend Amanda's daughter, Nyx, and no, not named after the magic thing. She popped up in the Discord once, and her name had Nyx in it, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, I love that set!" And I'm like, "This is not about magic. Please leave this child alone." And her boyfriend Jet, with 2 T's, took them to Carowinds yesterday, which is a amusement park here in Carolina. It actually straddles North and South Carolina, which means half the park smells terrible.
We're not going to tell you which half.
Oh, it's the South Carolina half.
Oh.
But yeah, Jet had never ridden roller coasters before, so that was going to be the grand experiment, was to see if he 1 liked and 2 could handle, like, physically, roller coasters, because, you know, some people like can't do VR because they get dizzy real easily and stuff like that, and the same thing applies to roller coasters and whatnot. So yeah, this is my 3rd time taking the kid to Carowinds. A few years ago, just me and her went, and then the next year, me and her and her best friend went, and then last year I couldn't take her. I felt really bad because, you know, between Renee spending all that time in the hospital and me having the kidney stone and missing a bunch of dashing, and then being flat broke the rest of the summer, could not afford to go to Carowinds, which was a bummer. But this year, I was like, can go to Carowinds, damn it. So yeah, we went. And it turns out that Jet actually likes the big, fast ones.
Oh, cool.
And he learned that he can't get on a roller coaster until it's been like an hour since he put any food in him. Like, we started off easy. We did it's called the Ricochet. It's a Wild Mouse style coaster. And while he didn't like the stuff that makes a Wild Mouse coaster, you know, the sudden 180 degree turns, he didn't seem to mind the drops and all of that. And we were like, okay, got it. So then we did the Gold Rusher, which is back before I started riding roller coasters. I was riding the Gold Rusher.
Yeah. It's
just a nice little chill metal coaster that, you know, it's not a kiddie coaster, but it's basically a kiddie coaster, you know. And we're like, how'd you like that? He's like, that was good. I'm like, all right, if you just ramp that up really hard, that's what the Fury's like. And he went, huh. At Carowinds, the biggest, baddest ride in the park is the Fury 325. And look, it's so big it made me go back and hit puberty. The Fury 325 is named as such because it is 325 feet tall.
Was it the Intimidator? Or is
not
that
anymore.
A different one?
Now that one's called the Thunder Striker. I'm guessing that they lost didn't renew the licensing deal with Earnhardt Enterprises or something. Because it's a really stupid name, Thunder Striker. What the hell does that even mean? but it's the same ride. But yeah, that was the biggest one before the Fury was built. So yeah, we did those, and we were trying to figure out what to do next. And like all of the smaller coasters that are, not great big deals, suck at Carowinds. Like the very first like roller coaster with an inversion in it that I ever rode, the Vortex, is still there, but it is not cool.
No. I remember standing in line for that for like an hour and a half, and the ride only lasts like 90 seconds. Like, it's an incredibly short roller coaster.
I don't even know if it's that long. But yeah, it's also just rough. Like the last couple turns, it's a stand-up coaster, but the last couple turns on it like are so rough that like your head bounces back and forth between the cushion, the shoulder thing, harness. There we go. And it just sucks. Every time I've ridden it, in recent years, recent being like the last, I don't know, 15, I've gotten off with a headache, and I'm like, I'm not doing that again. And the Carolina Cyclone, once famous because it had a double loop-de-loop back to back. Like, here's a loop, and then a corkscrew, which is really cool. Rough as hell. Refuse to ride it anymore. The Hurler, a big wooden coaster. Do what?
It's gone now, isn't it?
No, the Hurler's still there. Still called the Hurler. But it was always uncomfortable because it's a wooden roller coaster, and wooden roller coasters suck. Bite me.
That joggles you around like nothing.
Yeah, it was always brutal, and has only gotten worse as it's aged. So, yeah, I was like, I'm just not going to ride any of those. Y'all can ride it. And they were like, nah, it's okay. I went, okay. So we were like, how about the Afterburn, which used to be Top Gun back when Paramount owned it.
Yep.
Yeah. And the kid was like, yeah. So we went and rode it, and it was good, but it's also starting to show its age because the last few loops, again, are like, oh, God, my head. And we got off, and I was like, how'd you like that? He goes, sir, yeah, I really didn't. And I was like, you know what? That's fair.
They're like, oh, these were great and everything back when we were younger. And now,
back when they were younger. I don't think it's because I'm older. I think it's because as they age, they just aren't as smooth anymore.
Yeah.
But then we like ate some food and wandered around and put some rented a locker and whatnot. And I was like, let's try the Intimidator. What's it called? Thunderstriker. God, that's a stupid name. Can we please keep calling it the Intimidator? Because it was, for those of you that don't know, it was named after a NASCAR driver, Dale Earnhardt, whose nickname was the Intimidator. And there was a race car out front, and Earnhardt stuff everywhere. And it's a good coaster. It's one of those that's very fast but doesn't have any inversions. It's all about the hang time in your seat.
Yep.
And we got off, it was over. I looked over at Jet. I was like, how'd you like that? He went, really, I didn't really like that. We were like, why not? He's like, it made my stomach feel terrible. I'm like, uh-oh. And then we wandered over to the Fury, and, we got something to drink, and he just looked rough. I was like, dude, you want to, go sit in the AC somewhere and try to feel better? He went, yeah. I'm like, okay. So we wandered our ass to one of the restaurants in that had AC and sat down until he recovered. Like, he sat down and immediately put his arm on the table and put his head on his arm. And I was like, oh Lord, I'm gonna kill this boy. I didn't mean to kill him. Oh no. But after a while, he sat there with his head on his arm. Me and the kid just sat there, pulled our phones out, and started, dicking around on our phones, as you do when there's a moment of not doing something. And after a while, I realized he was up and looking around and had his phone out too. And after another few minutes, just to be sure, I was like, dude, you all right? And he's like, yeah, feel pretty good. okay. And he was like, it's, I don't know, the height bothered me. Apparently he had a thing about heights that we didn't know about. And he's like, I don't know. I was like, do you feel like trying the Fury? And there was a pause. He goes, I don't know. I'm like, that's fair. You know, no shame. I'm not gonna do to one of them, you know, like my old man did to me. Don't be a wuss. Ride the ride. You know, that's messed up. Don't do that. So I was like, all right, well, we're gonna go in that direction, because I know Nix wants to ride it. Nix was like, yeah, okay. And it's my favorite ride there too, so I definitely wanted to ride that. So, you know, we make our way over, and I could tell he's like nervous, like he wasn't saying much. And he just sort of he had this like 1,000-yard stare a couple times. I'm like, hey man, you don't have to ride the ride. It's fine. He's like, no, I'm gonna give it a try. I was like, all right. And once we were in the chute, you know, waiting on the next car, I could tell it was just eating him up. And I'm like, hey man, like, just if the height's gonna bother you, just close your eyes. He's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, dude, when I ride this ride, I close my eyes on the way up. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's high as hell. And that seemed to make him feel better. And you know, the train came and we got on. And the thing about the Fury is, okay, you know how most roller coasters, when they're being pulled up the incline on the train, it's kind of slow, and so it takes a while?
Yeah.
On the Fury 325, because it's so high, it is not slow. It is booking it, and it still takes forever. It's ridiculous, dude. And when it gets to the top, there's like it slows down for a second. I guess right. So all the people with their eyes closed know. And then it finishes pushing you over, and it, you know, you take off. And it's a very awesome ride. It's long, you know, for a roller coaster, and it's super fast. And again, there's no inversions. It's all about the hang time in the seat. And we got to the end, and I look over at Jet. I'm like, "How was that?" And he goes, "Awesome." And I went, "Wait, what?" So yeah, it turns out it was the food. He didn't even eat much when we grabbed lunch, because it wasn't very good. He got a bread tangle of pizza. Mm-hmm. Dude, don't eat in the park if you don't have to. I got like a little Italian sub and some chips that weren't good. The sub was awesome. The chips were gross. The kid got some mac and cheese. The kid's mac and cheese and a drink was like $13.
Ugh.
Jet got a bread tangle of pizza that had 2 breadsticks with it and a drink. I say a bread tangle of pizza. That's a Homestar Runner reference, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And his was like $20. And my sandwich with the season pass, well, he got a season pass discount. He used my season pass discount on his too. But my sandwich and crappy chips was also damn near $20. So, like, don't eat in the park if you don't have to. Just go out to your car, go somewhere else, and then come back, because it sucks. But anyway, we went around and tried to ride the stuff we liked again. The Copperhead Strike, which is I think the newest coaster there, was closed all day. It's a launch coaster that's very weird. I don't actually know how to describe it, but it's the only launch coaster in Carowinds, and the dude that was standing there telling everyone it was closed has said something to the effect of, I've only been here for like 2 or 3 months, and this thing is closed about half the time. I'm like, that sucks. So I hope they get that figured out. But, like,
when you say launch coaster, is that something that like starts at full speed?
Yeah, it's instead of taking you up a hill and dropping you to build up the kinetic energy, it just shoots you.
Okay.
And it's built. Something about the design on the Copperhead Strike is different. I can't describe it. Like the first, when it leaves the station, it just does a slow flip upside down. Because screw you, I guess. And it's really funny. But when you go through the loops, like the actual vertical loop-de-loops, because of the shape of the loop and the way the track is built, it feels like you pause at the top of each loop. And you don't actually pause, but while you're on it, it feels like you pause. And it's a trip. But sadly, it was closed all day, so we didn't get to ride it. But yeah, then there was a whole issue with I rented a locker. So both kids wear glasses, and both kids have phones, and I have phone. And like, I didn't have enough pocket space for all of this crap. So, and there were some of the rides don't have like a little cubby where you can put stuff and grab it on the next, when you get out.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think because they want to charge you for a locker, because of course. So I rented a locker for 2 hours at Copperhead Strike and put the bag and my wallet and my keys and anything else that was non-essential. So I had the top 2 pockets, because I wear cargo shorts because I'm a middle-aged man. So the top 2 pockets, on my hip were for phones, and then the cargo pockets were for glasses in cases.
Yeah.
Because I'm the adult, weirdly. So and then we realized a while later, it's been way more than 2 hours. I was like, that's fine. We'll just pay whatever the extra is and get our stuff out. And we get over there, and all the kiosks where you pay for stuff are covered up. And I'm like, So I walk over to the dude who's telling everyone that Copperhead Strike is closed. And I told him, hey man, what? All the kiosks are covered up. Like, what do I do? Because I tried to put in the code, and of course, I've gone over time, so it's not going to unlock.
Huh.
Because it wants me to go pay for the time, and then it'll let me unlock it.
Yeah.
But the kiosks were covered up. And he goes, well, you can go over to guest services, which is at the front, gate. Or I could try calling somebody. I was like, could you do that? Because, guest services is a hot minute away. So he goes, yeah, sure. And he runs over to another ride, uses the phone, and goes, all right. They said they're sending someone over. I said, awesome. I waited for like 10 more minutes. He flagged down his supervisor. His supervisor's like, well, I got nothing to do with that, but I can call it in. I was like, please do. So he calls it in. He's like, they said they're sending someone over. I said, awesome. I wait another 10, probably more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing. There's nothing. And this is, it's 6 o'clock. The park closes at 8. We've now spent, 20, 25 minutes trying to get stuff out of the locker. So I was like, all right, clearly whoever they're sending isn't coming or whatever. They did, yeah, we'll send somebody, and then they didn't. Let's just go to guest services. So we walk our asses all the way to guest services. And the woman, after there was only one person working, and he was trying to explain to a woman how to upgrade to a season pass and what that meant. And I'm like, oh my God, just do it online. Like, she was holding her iPhone in her hand. I was like, just download the app and just do it all there. Dear God. It'll tell you all this. You can read it instead of having a dude have to tell it to you out loud, which takes twice as long. Finally, another person comes up, and I say, hi, I've got stuff in a locker over by Copperhead Strike, and I can't get it out because all the kiosks are covered. And she's like, was there an attendant there? And I just looked at her. No. Otherwise, I'd be talking to them and not you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I said that. I implied it real hard, though.
Yeah.
Because that's the stupidest ass question I've ever heard. Like, yeah, I walked halfway across the park so I didn't have to talk to the attendant that was standing right there. And she's like, well, when they bring everything up at the end of the day, you can collect it here. And I went, what? Lady, I paid to rent the locker. I went over on the time. I went to go pay for the extra time, and I can't get to a kiosk. My wallet, my keys, like, everything is in the locker. We need to get my stuff out of the locker. She's like, well, there's nothing I can do about that. I can call someone and send them over. I was like, well, I tried that. They called someone twice, and nobody showed up. She's like, well, if they said they were sending someone over, they were sending someone over. I said, from where, Virginia? Because we waited 20, 25 minutes, and nobody showed. Mm-hmm. She goes, all right. And she turns and walks away, starts talking to another employee there about something completely unrelated. Comes back a few minutes later and goes, all right, you can head back now. I said, back where? She said, back to the locker. Someone will be there. I went, okay. Thank you. Went out the door. Told the kids, I was like, you guys want to go wait in Starbucks? And they were like, yep. They beelined over to Starbucks. I rushed my ass all the way back to Copperhead Strike. That's where I realized I had the blister on my foot. I get there, and there's a dude standing there looking around, and I was like, aha. And he goes, yeah, there you are. All right. We must have just missed each other. I was like, I was looking for someone with your color shirt the whole way over to guest services, and I didn't see you. So did you come from that way? He goes, yeah. I was like, oh, well, we just missed each other then. And, you know, while he was explaining this, he's like, yeah, these lockers shouldn't even have been open. He said, were all the kiosks uncovered? I said, no, just the one at the end. And he went, because when the ride, apparently those lockers are just for the ride, even though you can rent them for 2 hours or longer. They're just for the ride. So when the ride's closed, the lockers are supposed to be closed. I was like, well, the last kiosk was open. And he went, this happened on Sunday. Some guest decided to just uncover the kiosk and rent the locker themselves. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. And he said, yeah, it's amazing what people do. But what I said, really, what I meant was, why was just taking the cover off the kiosk all they needed to do? Like,
yeah, you can just do that.
Don't you need to log into something? Like, Jesus Christ. So he was very nice. It turns out, he said, well, we didn't get that call until, hang on, he pulled out his phone and looked. He said 6:30. I went at 6:30. I was already waiting at guest services. I was like, no, I saw them call. He said, who? I said, the attendant over there at Copperhead Strike. He said, no. They called base. Base had to call my department and send us over. I was like, what? He said, yeah, we got the call, and he showed me. He said 6:30. I went, so they just waited 20, 30 minutes to let you know? He said, looks like it. I went, oh. He said, yeah, I'm sorry about that. You should never have been able to get into these in the first place. And then I'm sorry. I was like, it's okay. It's not your fault. I probably should have thought it was strange when only one kiosk was open. But then it's not, it's a weekday. So why would they bother unlocking or uncovering all 5 or 6 of them? Mm-hmm. Which is what I thought, But whatever, he didn't even make me pay for the extra time. He just goes, okay, so what's in here? And I was like, a clear bag and a wallet and keys. And he goes, all right, is it your wallet? I said, yeah. He's like, has it got your ID in it? I said, yeah. He goes, what's the name? I said, Jason Slate. And he goes, okay. He opens it up. He's like, could you take that out and show me? All right, there you go. I did appreciate that.
Yeah.
So yeah, by that point, the blister on my foot was now in just ungodly. I limped all the way back to Starbucks, and I was like, all right, did you guys want to ride Thunder Striker again? To give it a try when you're not about to puke? And he goes, yep. I was like, okay, y'all go ride. I'll just hold all the crap right here. Because I'm sore. And they went and rode it again, and they were like, yay! And I said, okay, we should probably go. And they were like, yeah. The blister on your foot became the entirety of your foot. No, it's just a relatively small blister, but it sure did feel that way. Yeah, it was awful. And yeah, we swung by the parents' house because the parents live literally right off the highway that we were on. So I grabbed. Mom sent me some leftovers and some gauze and whatnot for the blister here. And then we got food, and then I took the kid home. Then I took Jet home. Jet's mom didn't really message me all that much, during the day, just a couple times. But once it started to get late, she's like, "You guys okay?" Yeah. So then I started. Yep, we did this and we did this, and now we're doing this, and then we're gonna grab food, and then I'm gonna take the kid home, and then I'm gonna bring Jet home. She's like, "Oh, okay." I'd never met her before that morning when I picked Jet up. Never spoken to her. She was amazingly cool with a guy she's never met, taking her son to Carowinds, but thank goodness, because it could have been awkward if she wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the trip to Carowinds. One of the rides I desperately wanted to ride, I couldn't, but we found out that Jet likes roller coasters so long as they don't jerk him around too much. Which, hey, that's how I like roller coasters.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, Carowinds is owned by Cedar Fair now, who are the ones that own Cedar Point, and I think Six Flags and Busch Garden. I think they own like everything now.
Mm-hmm.
They either own everything or they have a deal with the company that owns everything, because I could have upgraded my season pass to an all park pass, and I just scrolled through the parks that covered, and it's a lot. I was like, good Lord.
Huh.
So yeah. Highly recommend everyone go to an amusement park if you like rides. If you don't like rides, probably don't go. But I'm trying to talk Brian into letting me take Sam and like one of her friends also this year, because Sam's never been to Carowinds. She's been to Disney like a dozen times, never been to the one that's just like an hour and a half away. Like, what? So yeah. That's what I did yesterday, and that's why, as I'm sitting here, you might occasionally hear me go, huh? Oh, a wild Cyclops in the chat said the coaster that broke my fear of coasters was the Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens. That's another one that has not aged well, because I used to love that back in the day. Because Busch Gardens, Williamsburg is not far from like Nana's house.
Yeah, I went to it when I was in 7th, 8th grade. We were doing it was part of the like war. Was it European history or European countries and everything? So we went there because there were countries were set up around Williamsburg, Busch Gardens, and I remember riding that one. And then the Big Bad Wolf was another one.
Yeah, the Big Bad Wolf was awesome back in the day. It's gone now. It's very sad.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember riding the Loch Ness Monster and all that too. It was great back, like 20, almost 30 years ago.
There you go. Yeah, it has interlocking loop-de-loops, which is really cool. But the last time I rode it, when I was visiting family, and a couple of them were like, "Hey, let's go to Busch Gardens," and I was like, "All right." It's also like rough. I do love the Griffin at Busch Gardens Williamsburg now. It is ridiculous. You know how most roller coaster trains are like 4 seats wide and they're very long?
Yes.
Yeah, the Griffin is like 12 seats wide and only like 3 or 4 rows.
Oh wow.
And it takes you up to the top of the hill, like the big drop. Goes forward just enough to where the people on the front row are hanging, pressing against their shoulder straps. And it sits there for like 10, 15 seconds. And the people on the edge, you know, there's nothing below them. And then it lets go, and it's a really great ride. You know, hashtag not sponsored, but
Yeah.
Williams Busch Gardens. Hashtag feel free to sponsor. Send me to your park and I will promote the hell out of it. Anyway, so that's what I did this week, but we should talk about what we all did at the end of last week.
That is, we all went to a pre-release.
We
All
did
of us.
in our own way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I did not do the pre-release with the guys. I went with another group of people from church. Is who I went with.
And I went but didn't play.
Yeah.
I just went to hang out.
So we want to go talk about our decks and all that good stuff.
Sure, why not?
All right. Well, when I opened all my stuff, I had a giant cactar. So that was one of my rares that I opened, and it was in my original deck build, which was going to be blue. It was going to be green, blue, red was what it was going to be.
Uh-huh.
But then realized that my green had lots of mana, had some mana fixing and all that, but really the cactar was the only card that was going to be worth playing. Like, I had other stuff, but it was so heavy mana costed. Like, I had like the Balam T-Rex, but it's so expensive that the games are not going to last long enough for me to actually get this thing out.
Right.
And so I just decided, okay, well, I'm going to not do green, and so I ended up doing black, white, and red. And in mine, so some of my major hitters was Dion Bahamut's Dominant, which hit the board multiple times, but never got to see play. And I say that because they kept throwing white Auracite. It got white Auracite, which is the thing that exiles. It's the artifact that exiles target non-land permanent.
Uh-huh.
It got Auracited 3 times. All 3 times I played Bahamut's Dion, it got Auracited. All 3 times. And then, I mean, that tells you it's like that people are going, no. I have Black Waltz number 3, which did get to do at least 1 round of damage. My other major hitter was Cecil Dark Knight.
Nice.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then the main hitter in this was Lightning Army of 1. And then Queen Braun from Final Fantasy 9. She was in there. She got to see a little bit of play. And Garland, Knight of Cornelia. Mm-hmm. He's in there, and Magitech Armor, and a suplex. So, and I had other fillers in there as well, but like the one that kind of held people up was Ahriman. It's the flying eyeball.
I love the Ahriman.
I
Yeah.
saw a lot of
Oh, yeah.
Ahrimans while I was hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah, like this one of the pre-release like staples, just because it has death touch and flying, and it's like I'm gonna fight, send this over here, and you're like, death touch, death touch, flying death touch, and everyone's like, never mind, I'm not gonna do anything. But yeah, that was, and it's like I said, I had other fillers and stuff like that in it, but my record ended up being 1 and 3, or no, 1 and 2, and the only reason why I had my 1 win was because I got a bye. My actual record was, like, if you talk about games, I won 1 game in my against opponents that I played, so I had a 1 and 1 and 4 record with actually playing game matches and whatnot.
Okay.
So, and like I said, my actual record was 1 and 2 because of a bye. So, against opponents, my deck didn't do hot, mostly because I was playing against younger guys who have been playing for years in pre-releases, and just, you know, that they just knew the whole set more in and out, and just they've got more pre-release experience than I have in. Because the last time I did a pre-release was the Return to Ravnica block.
Yeah,
So
we
it's been a
talked
little
about
while.
that on the last episode, and we were all blown away. It had been that long.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured, I went back and I was like, no, actually, because I did the pre-release with the guilds. And so, because I did the white blue guild and then Simic. And that was the last pre-releases I've done. So obviously they've had more pre-release experience than I have. But like the guys I played against, they were really good, really nice guys. You know, even though the first guy I played, he essentially was playing my deck, but because he kept locking down Dion, I never got to play Dion, and he was playing the red one. That's the little kid. That's the Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what his name is.
Doesn't
If
matter.
Brian was here, he could tell us what who the kid was. But anyway, he was able to flip his multiple time and deal damage and bring back creatures and all that stuff. So his deck was just much better at what my deck could do. And then the second guy I played, I beat him the first round because his deck really was just not good. And then he was like, well, okay, well, let's do this one. He had built 2 decks. He built 2 decks. The first one wasn't all that good, and then he played his second deck, and his second deck had Aerith in it. And I had no way of killing Aerith, because he wasn't going to attack into the Flying Eyeball with Aerith. And Aerith eventually got to be like 20 something, had like 20 counters on her, and like, yeah, I mean, he ended up, I think, with like 50 something life, and all he had to do was just whittle me down. And so, and then he did the second game, I was mana flooded and got no permanents, like no creatures. And so he beat me down with like a 2 2 or with something really small. He essentially just beat me over the head with little creatures because I could not play a creature for my life.
Literally.
My starting hand was 5 lands in 2 instances and never drew a creature.
I blame the white
So
people.
yeah, I know. But yeah, so that was my experience. What about you guys?
Um, I was pretty excited when I opened up my packs because I'd laid everything out and I'd gotten some really cool rares, like the special fancy pre-release promo rare was a Furion Wild Rose Warrior who like really likes equipment. You can make copies of equipment. I got a Akuja Genome Sorcerer. It's a black-red legend who makes wizard tokens and transforms into something that makes all your wizards deal double damage. And I got a Terra. That's the red-green one who transforms into a crazy Esper Saga. Got a Wandering Minstrel. I also got a Jumbo Cactar. It's like, oh, this is amazing. But when I started looking at the stuff, I was like, okay, I got these, and I had some other interesting, like multicolored uncommons in red and blue and whatever. I was like, okay, this is cool. I think I can. But then I started to look at the other cards in the color. I was like, my red stuff wasn't all that great. Blue stuff wasn't great. It's like in terms of the cards that I'd actually be like playing for most of the game, um, there wasn't all that much to do except for in the green and the black where I saw some more interesting stuff. So I was able to use a few of my rares, the Jumbo Cactar and a Tifa Lockhart and an Esper Origins. That's that sorcery that transforms when you flash it back. It transforms into an Esper Saga. So it was like, okay, so I can play. I can do this. I think it looks pretty good. I'll just play a green, black, stompy graveyard value thing. Feels pretty good, and it turned out to be pretty good. I ended up going 3-1. And the stuff I picked up, like I had 2 copies of Vanille, which is the one that can merge into Ragnarok. I didn't have the other card that she merged with, but
Yeah,
that
Pain.
yeah, Pain, because just on the front, it costs 4, 3/2. When Vanille enters, you mill 2 cards and then return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. That's just getting a creature on the board and then a card back in your hand. That's really good, especially since I had 2 copies of the Balaam T-Rex who has forest cycling. So
Yep.
earlier in the game, just discard it, get a forest. I also had a copy of Malboro who has the swamp cycling. Had some good some useful surveil effects like the Esper Origins spell, like I mentioned, and Namazu Trader. I had the instant spell that's cost 3. Where is it? Oh, the Fight On for 2 and a black. It's an instant. You get 2 creature cards from a graveyard back to your hand. So it did end up being really good and really solid. The first round, everything went smoothly. Felt real good about it. Second round, I was still able to make some really good plays. I was able to one-shot my opponent with Jumbo Cactar in one of those games in the second round. Because I also got, and I didn't really think about this at first, I got a copy of the Lucy, which depending on how you want to think about it, it's a legendary artifact. It costs 4. It can tap for 2 mana, so it's like a Sisei's Ring or Golem's Eye, Hedron Archive, however you want to think about that. But then the other ability is pay 2, tap it, and pay 1 life to tap target non-land permanent. So I was able to, at the end of my opponent's turn, tap down their blocker, and then I went to combat. They flashed in a creature that I don't remember whether I knew that they had in their hand, but I tapped that down also, and I hit them for 10,000 with Jumbo Cactuar, who got through unblocked. So I was really happy about that. I remember my third round, I had an opponent kind of like the one you mentioned, Dirk, who had built 2 decks. The first one he brought out was it's like a slow blue-white deck, and he saw that it was just too slow for what I was doing. So maybe it wasn't blue-white because his second deck was red-white. Maybe his first deck was like blue-black or blue-green or something. But yeah, the second deck he pulled out was a much faster red-white like equipment and cheap creatures deck. And I did lose the second game in that match, partly because that Dragoon Lance just kept getting over my head. I had 2 copies of Ahriman in my deck, but he just didn't show up in the second game to help me out. And but I was able to barely win in the third game. It was super close. We were both like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" near the end of it. And then the fourth round, it was a little anticlimactic because I do what I still do too often. I just get like tired and like look at my opening hand. I'm like, it's fine, when I really should have mulliganed it. And so that I did that to myself 2 games in a row and lost the last round. I was like, well, I should have known better, but oh well, at least it's over. There were enough people there that they almost did 5 rounds, but because it was going to be so late for them to finish, and the people running the store kind of wanted to go home at a decent hour so they could get some sleep and come back to do the Saturday events, they took a quick vote of the room, and they were able to get enough people saying, no, let's just do 4, that they decided to cut it. It's like, okay, we're just going to do 4.
Yeah, he said if 25% of the people playing want to do 5 rounds, then we'll have to do 5. And it was exactly 25%. And he said, and one person goes, I changed my vote. And he's like, all right, yes, we're only doing 4 rounds. Including, by the way, Mike and Brian and Sam, who were all in the let's do 5 camp.
Yeah, at that time
I was out because Brian, once it was over, was like, all right, let's go, Sam, let's go, Sam, let's go. What are you doing? Let's go. Get out, let's go. Yeah, there was a lot of green at the top tables, as it were.
A lot. Yeah.
Green must be pretty good.
I feel like it is. I feel like it often is a solid choice at in limited, especially sealed, because that's where you're going to get the biggest creatures for the most decent rates. And if you get some good combat tricks besides, then you're golden. And with the synergy that they've been building into sealed and limited strategies recently, the pairings that you get with green, with it's usually going wide with white and doing some kind of tricky card drawing stuff with blue, and some kind of value play with black, and just straight out aggression stompy with red. I feel like green is often a solid choice. if you get decent enough stuff in your pool.
Yeah. So Brian and Sam aren't here, obviously, but Brian was playing blue-white with lots of artifacts and equipment. He had a Buster Sword.
Mm-hmm.
He had a Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
He had what was the one you mentioned in the pre-show, Mike?
Oh, I don't remember the name, but it was a blue-white legendary where at the end of your turn you mill your opponent for the life you gained.
Oof.
Yeah. And I think they're just a 2/3 for 2 or something like that.
I don't remember. Let's see here.
Fuji says it was Hope.
Hope. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian, let's see. I don't really remember. Because I got to watch none of Brian's games because he was always somewhere where I couldn't get to him to like stand there and watch. But he ended up 2-2.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
And then, like I said, I mostly watched Sam's games because, one, I wanted to keep an eye on her and make sure all of her opponents were really cool. I didn't get to see anything she did in the first round, but I think I could get to her table for the next 3.
Mm-hmm.
And all of her opponents were really cool. Her first round opponent, every time he would see her, he'd be like, "How you doing? Kill anybody else with Odin yet?" And she was like, "Yeah." So, because Sam opened an Odin. Was it a foil Odin?
It might have been.
Her shiny pre-release card was a Sin.
Yeah, I was jealous of that.
Oh, gosh.
And she also had... Oh, crap. Hang on a minute. I'm gonna do some stuff here on the card image gallery. There we go. What in the hell? Okay, I know she had an Armon.
Yeah.
Her last opponent had Cecil. Never mind. She had an Evil Reawakened, I think. Was that her? That might not have been her. There's something else ridiculous that she had that's not coming to me. She had a Ninja's Blades. She had Reno and Rude, who I got to see her play a lot.
I had them too. They're good. I was
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah, she had Summon Primal Odin, which is the one whose second chapter says, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. And she did win at least one game, I think 2, by hitting her opponent with that ability. So that's gross.
And I think there was another couple games where they had to block that and take like 8 from something else.
Yeah. There we go. I finally turned off the commander stuff. I got to the bottom of black, and then black kept going. I was like, "What is this?" Okay, she had a Balaam T-Rex R, which was just ridiculous. Did she have? No, she didn't have a Cactuar. Well, she did have a Cactuar. She didn't play it.
Right.
What? Not Esper Origins. Nope, it's not. Oh, she had Reach the Horizon, which is the little the explosive vegetation variant that gets basic lands or towns.
Oh yeah.
That saved her ass once. Oh, she had Saj, is that his name? The
What does he
guy,
do?
the guy that when he enters you can search
the guy
for
who
a
gets a-
bird or a basic land.
Yeah, you're right. She did.
And she had a traveling chocobo. Is that it? Yeah, traveling chocobo too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I saw her play Zaj. I cannot remember how to say his name, but I saw her play him and go fetch the traveling chocobo several times. And Saj is ridiculous. Like if you can keep him in play, Saws really? That's a weird way to pronounce it. Thank you, chat.
As
But he, when he attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Then you double the number of +1/+1 counters on the creature. So she got him out. One game, I think it was round 2. Attacked with him, put the counter on him, doubled it to 2. And I wandered off to go see how Mike was doing because I could get to both of them that round. When I came back, he was still sitting there, but he had no counters on him. And she was like, all right, I'm going to attack with him. And I said, where does counters go? She goes, do what? I said, where does counters go? You know, like I wasn't offering any strategical advice. I was just wondering what I missed. And she goes, what do you mean? I was like, well, you put the counters on him last combat, right? She goes, yeah. I said, well, they're counters. They don't go anywhere. And she went, oh my God, they're counters. All right. So I'm going to put the counter on him and then double it and swing with this and this and this. And her opponent was like, well, I'm dead. Like once that clicked, she went, oh my God, then he's going to be huge. And it was so cute to watch. I think she had a Fenrir too. Or was that you, Mike?
I did not have a Fenrir.
No, I'm sorry. She had a fat chocobo. That's what it was.
Yeah, she had a fat chocobo.
And she played and Locke. Like her deck was stupid. Like she had a blue splash for Locke and Sin and a couple other blue cards that were just, generally useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she also had the instant ramen. Because at one point, she kept playing it during her turn and I kept wincing. But at one point, she played it and then said, okay, go. And I went, she said, what? And I pointed at it. And she goes, yeah. And I raised an eyebrow. And she goes, what? And then I pointed at it, and then I pointed at her deck, and then I pointed at it, and she goes, what? And I said, read the card. And she goes, oh, I'm supposed to draw a card. Okay, hang on. And I was like, oh my God, Sam. That's why you played it. See, I was trying to make sure she was following all of the actual, rules and triggers and whatnot.
Yeah.
And to make sure that, her opponents didn't try to do something dumb. Luckily, most of her opponents seem to be not quite as new. Because Sam's been playing Magic for a while, but Sam doesn't play Magic frequently.
Right.
So she's got the baseline stuff down, but some of the finer details, like the difference between +1/+1 until end of turn and a +1 counter sort of just would pass her by at several points during those first couple rounds. Like at one point in round 2, I think, it was round 2, her opponent played 2 of the little, I think they're 2/1s that say whenever you play a land, you deal 1 damage to each opponent.
Mm-hmm.
He played 2 of those. And I'm like, oh God, because, when Sam's life total starts getting low, being, a younger, newer player, she doesn't really know how to handle that. And her Sabotender, yes, thank you. But then he stopped playing lands, and she had creatures on the board, one of which would kill one, the other of which would trade with one. And I'm sitting here thinking, swing out, swing out, swing out, swing out. Do damage while you can. Swing out. If he blocks with those, that's good for you. If he trades with those, it's good for you. Like, do it. But I'm not saying anything because I'm not playing. So I'm just standing there. And she's like, I'm gonna attack with... And I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But she knows this is a thing. Like, after the round was over, I was like, you remember when that happened? She's like, yeah. I was like, you were killing me because you had the strategic advantage because he ran out of lands. You needed to apply pressure. She's like, yeah, I'm not very aggressive. I was like, you are not. She got better about that as the night went on.
Oh, good.
I mean, it still took her a while, but she was less hesitant to swing with stuff. She just had to double and triple check things before it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam, she drew her first round. Then she won round 2. Then she won round 3. Then she drew round 4. So she ended up with a better record than Brian at 2-0-2. Which made me happy. But yeah, she also had at least one Ahriman. What were they called? Hang on, I just saw them. They're like a 2/3 Shinra reinforcements.
Oh, they're cool.
Yeah, that actually saved her ass a couple times too. That 3 life mattered a couple times between that and the 3 life on the
T-Rex R.
Yeah, the T-Rex R. And she had the town that gains 2 life, starting town or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm. It's starting town is something else, but yeah, there's a town that gains 2 life.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that allowed her to stabilize a couple times. Her last round opponent had Cecil out and was just beating on her. Adventurers In, that's the one, thank you. Was just beating on her, and he had never flipped Cecil and wasn't actually aware that Cecil had a backside. And he was like, okay, wait. Because he was like, this card's really good. I was like, yeah, and the backside has lifelink, so it's even better. And he went, wait, what? And he's like, hang on. And he like read the card. So wait, if I drop below 10, then he transforms? I'm like, well, after he swings, if you're below 10, he transforms. Because the transform is part of the, attack.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, and at this point he was at like 12. And he was like, sweet. And then like he wasn't paying attention and Sam killed it. Like in a block.
Aww.
And he went, oh, like he had put an equipment on it and swung into, I think her Ahriman maybe or something. Or something big. I don't remember the specifics, but I was like, because I remember saying when he went, oh, and he put it in the graveyard, I was like, well, you still take 4. Because he had given it +2 somehow. And he was like,
gosh.
Oh man, why did I do that? I was like, my guess is you got excited in your tunnel vision. He went, yep. Yeah. He also hadn't been playing all that long, it didn't seem. So he didn't mind, when Sam beat him that game, and then I think he won the first one and she won the second one or something like that, and then they drew on the last game. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I mostly hung out with Sam all night, and then when the rounds were over, the other dorks would wander up.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see people I hadn't seen in a long time. William, the guy that owns the place, and and Tara, who works there, and a handful of other people that didn't even. It's been so long since I've seen him. Since I'd seen them, I didn't even recognize them at first. Caught myself going, "No, wait just a minute. That guy looks familiar. If he lost the beard and had a head full of hair." I think that's Lacey. Is that Jackie sitting there with him? Holy crap! Excuse me, and then I choked and died.
Now, rule number 1.
Sorry. So yeah, it was good to go hang out with the dorks and see a bunch of other Magic players that I hadn't seen in a while, and just enjoy the atmosphere without actually having to stress about playing the game itself. It was very nice.
Yeah, I had a good time.
I've thoroughly enjoyed getting to play with people who weren't. I'm trying to think of the right word.
Dicks?
Like, yeah, because like I said, the pre-releases seem to attract people who are there to play, learn, and have fun. Whereas other ones I've been to, it just really feels like I'm here to win, and if I don't win, then I'm gonna cause a scene and all that. And it really I feel like I've just played against a bunch of jerks whenever I've been to other things. But pre-releases, I feel like I've really not had a bad pre-release experience.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
You remember Slam a Door, why don't you?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Was that Innistrad? It had to do with angels.
It was Avacyn Restored. Was that the name of the set?
That was the name of one of the sets. Yeah.
Yeah, it was that last set because Bill had flipped into Entreat the Angels.
Yeah.
As a miracle.
And his opponent, who still very much had the upper hand, got so pissed he just got up, cursed, and like walked out and slammed the door real hard behind him, where Bill just sat there. He's like, I don't know why he's all upset. I haven't won. I might still lose. Like, he's still got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, I remember Bill saying that. It was like, no, the game isn't over.
Yeah, this was not a top deck for the win. This was a top deck to not die immediately. And John went out and like talked this because this was at the toy factory where Dirk went, and John went out and talked to him, and then he came back and picked up all his stuff, and Bill got the win. Can't remember that dude's name.
Me neither. That's sad because he was one of the regulars who I knew well.
Yeah,
at the
and
time.
he was usually like a okay dude, but for something about this one, just got under his skin.
He was pretty much always a cool dude, but yeah, something got to him.
And
my favorite pre-release is still the one where the guy was like, "Hey, you guys have a Library of Alexandria?" And Mike said, "You're a funny guy. Go away." Still the best one.
Gosh.
Only because we had only known Mike as being, reserved, quiet, and everything. And then when he said that, with Mike's response, we all were going, I have never seen this side of Mike.
Did Mike just openly mock someone in public?
Yeah. It still makes me chuckle to this day, as you can tell.
You're a funny guy. Go away.
Go away. Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our pre-release experience and everything. So, like I said, we thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm sure whenever Brian comes is able to make it, he can give us his rundown and everything as well. But yeah. And now I don't feel bad about, unsleeving my deck and finding a place for stuff. Oh, one of the rares that I also got was Noctis. And Noctis is going to go into one of my commander decks, like as the new commander, because he does more of what I want that deck to do than what it currently does.
Nice.
Because the commander deck I have it's an artifact deck where it's like a bunch of artifact creatures, like it's like an Esper deck. Where it has like creatures that are supposed to come back, and that's why Shroom's the commander. But I think Noctis would be a much better fit because you can cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their cost. If you cast a spell this way, the artifact enters with a finality counter on it. So if something goes to graveyard, Shroom can bring it back, and I think I've got the little dagger that returns artifacts from the graveyard to your hand. But Noctis could also be there to be like, oh, nope, you're coming right back too. Sort of thing. Since Shroom is only a one-time wonder when it comes to when she enters, you return something, whereas Noctis can do it much more often.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy about that one.
Chat wants to know if you think you'll go to another pre-release.
If the set interests me enough, I might go back for another pre-release, but it's just like the Magic stuff is just so expensive in the long run, and I already have so much Magic stuff as it is that I'm just essentially collecting space in my closet.
Yeah.
And that's the downside to it, is that yeah. So I really just have not acquired or had an interest in doing it. And I haven't, and the play group I've got, like at church, I've got some guys that I play with, and that's been fun to just go and that's kind of what's got me back into playing a little bit, is having a group that, like the youth at church, they like playing Magic. Several of the leaders play Magic, and that's kind of what's got me back in. Beyond that, once moving back out this way and just us not getting together as we used to play together, it's just I've been falling out of interest in playing it. So there's a small spark there to do it, but I just haven't had the yearning to go and be like, I'm going to do the next pre-release, I'm going to buy cards and all that.
Yeah. That's why, like not to pick on Chifuji, who's the one who asked, but like when I was talking on a previous stream about doing or going to the pre-release just to hang out, I think it was Chifuji. If not, I apologize. But he said something like, well, get Mike to sponsor you. I was like, Mike doesn't want 2 pre-release packs worth of Magic cards that he's never going to touch again. Like, what are we... What? And I don't want to play. Like, I have zero interest in playing Magic with these people. But it's like, it's like a cult. I used to be in it, so I get it. But I've escaped. It's like, Dirk, why aren't you still playing WoW?
Yeah. That's kind of how it is too, is just you get tired of doing the same thing every day and realizing this is a job. Like, I left work to come home and do another job.
Yeah.
And then to have to be like, kids, leave me alone while I'm doing this game that's making me do work, and is kind of not fun anymore. So,
Ow. But like, yeah, without dorks to play Magic with, and even with dorks to play Magic with, I just don't want to play anymore. It just does not interest me. Which is weird. Like, I can still talk about it on the show as needed, but I just don't wanna. Like, it is a fascinating bit of game design, which is a thing that I am more and more interested in, or that I discover I'm more and more interested in. That's why I enjoy talking about video games and video game genres and whatnot so much, because I'm fascinated by how developers of all types of games create the experience for the players. And Magic, there's more written about the design of that from one man than there is on like most other games all put together. That's Rosewater, by the way. But playing, yeah, it just feels like more of a hassle. And then I have cards that I will come home and just put somewhere, and then I'll discover them, 5 years later and be like, oh yeah, I guess I went to this pre-release. Which happened not long ago. I found what was it? I found the pre-release box of... What was the set before Oko? No? Dorks?
Oko.
Sorry, I leaned on the mute button for my headset.
Oh my God.
Was War of the Spark the one right before Throne of Eldraine? Was
Maybe?
there something else in between?
I don't remember. Okay, let's see here. Throne of yeah, War of the Spark was the one. It wasn't War of the Spark though. Was it one of the Ravnicas? Was it an Ixalan? I don't remember what I found, but I found the pre-release box, and I was like, oh yeah. Look, that's how much it stuck. I don't even remember. I'm pretty sure Throne of Eldraine was the last one I went to and played. I don't think I went to Theros Beyond Death.
Theros Beyond Death, was that the first one that was majorly impacted by
No, that was
pandemic
Ikoria.
problems? Oh, Ikoria, okay.
Yeah, Theros was in January of 2020, so the world hadn't ended yet.
I remember I also missed Theros Beyond Death, but I guess that was just rough luck or scheduling issues.
Yeah. But I know I went to War of the Spark, because I'm pretty sure I went to at least 2 of the Ravnicas. Maybe it was one of the Ravnicas, like Ravnica 3.0, even though... 3.0, right? Yeah. Guilds, Allegiance, and then War.
Yes.
And I know I went to Dominaria. Yeah.
Yep, I went to Dominaria.
But I definitely haven't been to one since the world ended, like, to play. I think I swung by. I can't remember what the last one that Brian and Sam went to that I went and said hi. Bloomborough, maybe?
It would have been the more recent one. I think coincidentally, the last pre-release before Final Fantasy that I might have gone to might have been Lord of the Rings.
That makes sense. Anyway. But yeah, that's why I've been trying to transition the show away from being just about Magic to being about nerdy stuff, because we're all giant nerds. So,
Mm-hmm.
but because I don't play Magic anymore, my only exposure to new cards is when we talk about them on the show, and they don't stick anymore because I never see them again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know Mike and Brian play some on Arena, but I don't know how much.
I just play Brawl, so like I don't really know what the heck is good in Standard or whatever. So yeah, there are a lot of things that don't stick with me either because I only play the one format.
And I don't know what Brian does. I know Brian drafts a fair amount.
I think he also plays some Standard.
Oh, does he? Okay.
I think so.
I don't know. It's weird. Like, after I got disgusted with Blizzard and all of their horrible practices and dipped out of Hearthstone too, the card game itch, I guess, has been permanently scratched. I don't know. This thing that I had to do and wanted to do for so long is just gone now. And I know for a while it was replaced with, like the auto battlers, Underlords and team fight tactics. And then before that it was roguelikes. I guess now it's Balatro.
Do you still play Slay the Spire very often or no?
No. And once I got done unlocking all the stuff in the Rogue Book, and the only things left were the achievements that were just relentless grinding, I gave up on those too.
Yeah, fair.
Like the achievements I don't have. Collect 500 treasures from the map. There are 2 or 3 treasures on the map every world, and there are 3 worlds in each game if you make it all the way. I'm sitting at 302, and I've got 143.8 hours in the game. So like I'm just over halfway at 143 hours. It's even worse for visiting Sky Towers. Visit 500 Sky Towers. There are 2 on each map per world. You might be able to get another 1 or 2 here or there depending on random story bits that pop up. I'm at 259. Open 500 gemstones. I'm at 167. There's a couple of those on each world too.
Right.
The only achievement I'm sad I don't have is Never Ending Story, which is visit every original story event at least once. I've played so much of this game and haven't seen all the story events yet, but there's no way to track it.
Oh.
So, like, I've got a bookmark somewhere where someone was trying to catalog them all. And I was like, I'm going to come back to this at some point and see if I can track it down. Because some stories only happen in some chapters. But it's too much effort. Like, this is an example of bad achievement design. When I've exhausted everything there is to do in the game. Except for, like, the one thing, that the story event. I'm probably only missing, like, 1 or 2. That are slightly rarer than the others, but all the rest are just grindy and miserable. And since I'm not playing to unlock anything or achieve more things, not counting ticking up an achievement, I just got sick of playing because I've already destroyed the hardest challenges. So I'm either gonna play on easy mode to make it easier to grind, which is no fun because I can do that. Like I think I won a run while I was asleep once. Like I was sitting here playing, I'm like, let me just get through this, I'm gonna go to bed. And I woke up at one point looking at the victory screen and I went, huh. Oh yeah, and Vampire Survivors is always in my back pocket too. I gotta get back to that. That game is so much fun. But now I'm doing things, like I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 and like being amazed at how intricately everything is put together in this world and how your various decisions actually matter throughout the game. Ouch. And I just got done, playing XCOM, the first of the new ones, and being thoroughly entertained by how the game has two halves and they don't really fit together at all. There's the base building, resource management half, and then there's the tactical combat half.
Yeah.
And they don't go together at all, but you can't have one half of this game without the other, or else it just wouldn't work. I'm like, that's crazy. How does that work? And I really want to start XCOM 2 because that's got even more stuff going on that I am not aware of yet. So yeah, like I'm always thinking about these things when I'm playing these games these days. Like actively thinking about them. And I think, weirdly, part of that is because we've talked about how various card designs in Magic affect play experience and, how balancing works. And, this costs one more than you think it should, but it's a common. Like,
yeah.
That sort of thing. My brain has been doing that for so long that now that I don't really do it much with Magic anymore, I can point it at other things, and the analytical part of my brain is still there, so or is still running. So that makes me happy, actually. So thanks, Magic, I guess. Fine. This went off on a strange tangent, but it's a thing that's been there this whole time, and I've only become like actively aware of it in the last, I don't know, year or two.
Yeah, because for the longest time you only ever applied that thought process to one game specifically and just associated it only with that game.
Yeah. Although I have to say, I still don't understand how Yakuza 0 actually worked.
See, if XCOM had only added 7 or 8 more disparate elements, it would have been perfect.
And boobies.
To bring it all home.
Chifuji says, you ever think you might try to design a game yourself? No.
We'll let Brian do that.
Yeah. If Brian ever wants, input, I will happily do that. But that doesn't seem like a thing that I would be able to do, just because my attention span is not that long. Oh no. No? Okay. It's still there.
Fuji says Brian did pretty good with that RPG. Yeah, he did. And he still has in mind some ways to refine it. We chatted about that a little Friday evening. We also chatted about another idea he had about like a physical progressive deck building game that was that also had like suit based mechanics for it. Like he did a quick explanation of his idea with a deck of conventional playing cards that Sam had brought along.
I'm sorry, did you say Sam brought playing cards to the pre-release?
Yes.
She's so cute. And she did tell me while we were there. She's like, and I hear you taught my father what GYATT means. I was like, yeah, I did. She's like, that's pretty funny.
Well, earlier, Brian had brought it up earlier. He and I, we were three of us, were sitting around talking, and I can't remember what brought it to his mind, but he turned to Sam and he said, "So what does GYATT mean?" And she had this look on her face like, "Oh my god!" she like she like turned and covered her face a little bit, and I started busting out laughing. I was like, "He knows what it means. Chewie told him. He's just doing that to embarrass you."
That's hilarious. So that happened before I got there.
Yes.
And then that when I showed up, she hit me with that. And I was like, "Wait, so you did know what that meant, right?" And she looked at me like I was stupid and was like, "Yeah." And I went, "That's what I thought."
Yeah, just like I said, I heard it just the other day.
And I turned to Brian and said, "Told ya." And Brian went, "Ugh." And it made me giggle.
Fuji mentioned Deadlands in the chat about how you would play poker hands to resolve certain things in the game. Yeah, I told Brian about Deadlands when he brought that up.
Huh.
I don't think he was aware of it before.
I mean, I've never heard of it.
I can't remember whether the card game or the RPG setting came first. It's a like fantasy Wild West setting. And the card game, like you would play poker hands to like resolve combat and other stuff. And if you were playing it straight, you would build your deck so that it had the proper number and suit balance for it at like a regular deck of playing cards would. But you didn't have to. But there were other cards in the game that you could use to punish your opponent if you caught them cheating, where it was obvious that they had built their deck, where there was the doubles or triples of something of a certain number and suit.
Huh. That's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really afraid that playing Baldur's Gate 3 and all of the reading and study I did in preparation for playing Baldur's Gate 3 is going to get me interested in D&D. And I'm like, I don't not have time for that. Not to mention the fact that I don't have people to play with, because I mean, you guys have all been playing D&D for a very long time now, but Dirk, how long's it been since you were in on a session?
Been a little while.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, life keeps catching up with me.
That's what it does, because it's a bastard.
It really is. Like, I want to go do something fun. Life's like, no, you have to go do this. What if I don't wanna? Too bad. Sounds exactly like that.
Do as I say. Sounds like Dirk's character is holding everyone's stuff in game. I think he's been sent off on some sort of side quest just to get him out of the way.
More than likely.
Dirk is holding the deck of many things.
So the reality is I'm saving everybody's life.
Yeah.
Right now.
Because Jimmy keeps wanting to pull cards from it. Because that's just how Jimmy is.
Yes. I do believe, wasn't it one of them is the reason why our money went away at one point?
No, that was some other misadventure that we got into.
Okay. Because I went through and looked at some of the stuff, and I'm going, oh, I really hope I just, you know, keep forgetting to draw these cards because, oh my gosh.
I think Brian told us that he removed some of the outright game ruining effects and replaced them with other things of his own.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Yeah, and looking at some of the things that it does, like your character instantly dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There is a lose all your stuff card.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that either. Don't want to die. Don't want to lose all my stuff. Feel like that says like conjure a giant, thing that will destroy the party.
Yep.
I remember. Okay, it turns out that my interest in like ways to do things in games is far older than Magic, because this just came to mind. Way back in the day in InQuest magazine.
Yes.
Which was well before I met you guys. I've always had zero interest in tabletop role playing, but there was an article in an issue of InQuest that said something like ways to like spice up your campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And do things for your players that they had never that they wouldn't expect. And one of them was take all their stuff away. Like, not permanently, just take all their stuff away and make them deal with things without it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
To give them an appreciation of their stuff. And I was like, huh. And there were a bunch of these like sections where it was like, try this, do that. But that's the one that always stuck out, is take away your stuff. And I remember like getting thrown in jail in Skyrim and all of my stuff being in the like evidence chest or whatever it was, and going like, now how am I gonna get all that back? Turns out there are a variety of ways.
Yeah. And it gives you an interesting activity to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like they left me with like 3 lockpicks, and I think most of the jail cells have some way to get out, other than picking the lock. But if you get out and come out, out in the world, now you still don't have all your stuff. So now you got to sneak back into the guardhouse and steal all your stuff back. At least I think that was Skyrim that took all your stuff. Skyrim might have just taken your stolen stuff. And I'm thinking I'm getting it mixed up with a different game that actually took all your stuff when you went in jail. I can't remember now. It's been a very long time since I got thrown in jail in Skyrim.
I think I did do that at one point, but it's been so long that normally if I get caught stealing something, I'm just like, yeah, this is not going to end well for you. Not me. I'm going to be fine. You're the one who's not going to end well. And it's like, I guess I'll come back. I'll either pay the fine or I'll just come back, a really long time later.
Bad timing on your part for seeing that, buddy.
I'm sorry you saw that.
Unsheath sword, as you say it. It's a shame you had to see that. Oh, God.
Or turn into a werewolf or something like that. Like, yeah, unfortunately, your face is about to be eaten.
Literally in the case of the werewolf with Skyrim.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's how you level up your werewolf skills, is by eating corpses.
Eating everything. Yeah, that's usually what I did in the game, was be like, all right, I'm going to go up to the reach, and I'm just going to turn into a werewolf. And the whole goal was to get to the thing where you could actually eat the wildlife too, to help you level up.
Mm-hmm.
was to go straight for that one and just go and hit every raider camp. Whoever came across, like, oh, I'm so sorry, you're about to get eaten, and yeah, leave a path of destruction behind me. That afterwards you're just like, all right, let's go backtrack and see how much stuff I can collect before I become, you know, everything's too heavy for me to carry.
Well, that's just called playing Skyrim.
That is true.
When Renee plays Fallout 4, she takes everything. Well, she does that in Skyrim too, but I haven't seen her play that. So watching her play Fallout 4, she literally loots everything. And when it pops up, you're over encumbered, she goes, and then turns to her companion, which is usually dog meat, but she's been trying to get other like follower perks here lately. So she'll turn to, like, it was Gage in the Nuka World expansion, and be like, "Hey, come here, come here! Oh my God, come here! Thank you. Trade." And just, here's all my junk, and here's a bunch of other stuff, and here's a bunch of other stuff, and here's a bunch of other stuff. You can't carry anymore? Okay, here's smaller stuff. Oh, you can't carry anymore? Here's teeny stuff. You can't carry anymore? Okay, you're maxed out. Thank you. And then she'll go back to looting literally everything. And I'm like, why do you do that? She's like, because it breaks down into stuff that you use for your settlements. I'm like, oh. Because I've never played 4, so I don't know these things. So she, once her follower is over encumbered and she's over encumbered, she finds like a desk or something to stash just enough stuff in to where they can both walk. Fast travels back to base, throws all the stuff in the places where it needs to go. Takes the stuff from her follower, throws it in the places where it needs to go so it can be used for raw materials, and then fast travels back to where she was and continues the loot fest. I'm just like, this is fascinating to watch.
Sounds like how I used to play Diablo 1. It's like, pick up everything. Inventory's full, town portal.
Chifuji says, do you remember how angry people got before a cure to vampirism got added to the game? No. I do not.
What was the question?
You remember how angry people got before a cure for vampirism was added in Skyrim?
I thought the whole thing, like, so I think in Oblivion, if you got it, you just had to go into one of the shrines and you could get healed and you were all good. But if you didn't go, eventually you got vampirism, and I don't think there was a cure for it.
Yeah, I know in vanilla Skyrim, like, if you contracted, Sanguinare Vampiris or whatever it's called, you could just go hit a shrine or eat a potion of cure disease or a hawk feather or whatever, and it would clear out. But if you didn't, and eventually it progressed into actual vampirism, I'm pretty sure in vanilla Skyrim there literally wasn't anything you could do. You were just stuck with it. And I think with Dawnguard, they added in the guy.
The werewolves can remove it.
Wait, what was that?
The werewolves can remove it.
Well, yeah, but if you've already done that, then I don't think. What if you don't want to be a werewolf? What if you don't want to be any sort of monster, Dirk? Oh my God. But the guy who's I forget his name, but he's in, is it Morthal, the little crappy town where the Jarl can see the future? I might be confusing that with a different Jarl. I think it's Morthal though. It's one of the little crappy ones, not one of the huge holds capitals. There's a guy there who everyone's all suspicious of because he goes off into the like the cemetery or into the woods or some ancient ruins or something in the middle of the night every night, and there's some little girl who's having bad dreams about that guy, and he was part of cut content. Like there was nothing at all that he did other than you follow him, you go back to the Jarl's like, could you keep an eye on him? You follow him into the woods, and either you could go tell the Jarl or not, and that was it. But I think I'm pretty sure this is right with the Dawnguard expansion, where you could become like a full-on vampire lord instead of just a vampire. They made it to where he could cure you of your vampirism entirely. You need like a black soul gem and a couple other things. And then he'll do a thing and now you're cured. But I wasn't really paying much attention to the community of Skyrim people back then. But like, if you get sick, then you drink a potion to cure disease before you become a vampire. Like, that's on you, nerd. Or you fork your save, you make another save file, and you run around as a vampire for a while. And when you get sick of it, you just reload and you drink a potion to cure disease. Does anyone else remember in that episode of Ghostbusters where vampires and werewolves have a big fight, turning each other into the other back and forth, or did I dream that? Nope, I got nothing on that one, bruh. I only remember very few episodes of the real Ghostbusters, primarily the ones that involve the boogeyman. Because the boogeyman was terrifying in the first episode he was in. And they brought him back a couple times, and he was never as scary as that first time. But that episode stuck with me. I think it was Egon who had encountered the boogeyman when he was younger, and he was all... When the boogeyman showed up, as he's a Ghostbuster, he froze because, oh my god, it's the bad dreams I used to have. Chifuji said, look, I accidentally walked into a vampire's cave within the first 15 of the game. I was collecting herbs. Well, then when you reload, you start over from scratch, you're not losing much. It's on you, man. You have contracted rock joint. Son of a... Every time a wolf would attack me, I'd get rock joint. I'm like, ugh. Makes me want to start over and play as one of the races that doesn't get disease, that has like increased disease resilience.
Is rock joint just like a progressive petrification or something?
I don't actually remember what it does. I just remember it would always be a pain because now I got to go do other stuff. I got to stop what I'm doing and go find a shrine or something. In Skyrim, rock joint is a disease that affects your manual dexterity, causing painful swelling and immobility of your... No, what does it do in game? I don't care about the flavor of it. Rock joint. Here we go. In Skyrim, one-handed and two-handed weapon skills minus 25%. Is that all? Huh. I guess early in the game, that's really bad. Because you're already doing no damage with one-handed and two-handed weapons at the beginning of the game. Now you're doing no damage minus a quarter. It's always the wolves. The wolf would run up and bite you in the butt and be like, you've contracted rock joint. I'm like, come on, man. Damn. Bethesda games are another source of fascinating game design or lack thereof. Like, we just threw all this crap in. It doesn't really go together. Some of it's really stupid, and you're going to be stuck with it. And that's where modders went. Hang on a minute. I'm going to fix this. Damn it! Now I want to play Skyrim again. We gotta stop.
You're welcome.
I gotta figure out how to get Skyrim VR up and running and recordable, because I have all these like grand ideas for a YouTube series in Skyrim VR. So much so that like I've got a Google Doc where I jotted down ideas for each of the like major quests and quest lines,
Right.
for things my character would do and how they would react to things and whatnot. Excuse me. You know, like every time I find a new fascinating weapon, I would be like, aha, this will be my signature weapon from now on. Until I find the next one. Then I'll throw the other one down and be like, aha!
Yeah.
I need to go look at that Google Doc and see if I ever came up with like the overarching idea for what my character was. I mean, I know I came up with it, but I don't know if I wrote it down. And now it's been a while since I was writing all that.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and forth between several ideas. Like, oh, I could be like a travel blog guy who's just walking around Skyrim and bumping into stuff. And then another point, I was like, I'm a completely clueless moron. I have no idea what's going on. And another one, like, I am the most obnoxiously self-confident douchebag on the planet. But I didn't actually go with any of that. Those are just ideas that I was kicking around for how I could play all these. Anyway. Should we stop?
Yeah.
Probably.
Would that count as machinima? I don't think so, no. It's just, it would just be like role-playing. Because I wouldn't be setting anything up specific in the game, like, you know, red versus blue or anything like that. Anyway. Right then. I guess there's really no final thoughts on a just chatting, is there? How about anything we should end with? Or final thoughts. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'd say the big thing for me was getting to talk about the pre-release and all that good stuff. Graduation's tomorrow.
Cool.
It's about time you graduated. Jeez, how old are you now?
As I tell the kids and everything, is I'm old enough to know better, but not old enough to do better.
Wow, that's how old I am. It's crazy how that works. You think we'll ever get Silk Song? I guess that's the wrong group of people to ask, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's the sequel to Hollow Knight that has been in radio silence for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
And we're all kind of, Oh, look, a bot in the chat. Piss off. Was there something put out as a tease recently? I don't think so, or else I probably would have seen people losing their mind over it. Although it is possible that I would have missed it, but I feel like Megan and Casey would have sent it to me twice. But look, there's hope. There's hope. I'm like, oh. Anyway. Sorry, I just spotted that on my wish list and went, oh. Forgot about that. Now I'm sad. Oh well. Mike, you got anything to finish us up then?
Um,
Are you finally graduating? Wait, no.
no, that happened a while ago, and I don't think I have any more coming up. At least not that I'm aware of.
So you're like a cylinder. Because you're graduating.
Okay, yes,
It was a
got it.
chemistry class joke. That was more for Dirk than you.
It got a chuckle out of me.
That's all I was going for. Thank you.
But yeah, it was real fun to go to the pre-release. I'm glad I did. The Final Fantasy stuff is fun. It was good to see everyone. And then a couple days later, we went on a little mini vacation for a few days. We got back yesterday. We went up to Boone to take a break and hang out and go around some places. We spent most of the day Tuesday at Grandfather Mountain State Park, which is really nice.
Yeah.
It's really pretty up there. And there's lots of interesting things to see there at the park. And they have that mile-high bridge that goes across a chasm up there near the top of the mountain. And it's cool when you go up the trail to go up. It's like it's a trail you drive because it's so long and steep and everything. And they give you an audio tour to listen to in the car as you drive up the mountain and pass by spots to go, get out and take a look and then get back in the car and keep going.
That's neat.
It was. I highly recommend it.
I haven't been up there in, good God, decades.
That was the first time that I'd ever been to Grandfather Mountain State Park. Yeah, I was impressed.
Nice. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's it for my thoughts.
Nice. Well, as for me, that third YouTube channel, TMP Streams, is now up. And I've got the first, 4 or 5 Baldur's Gate streams public on it. First 4. 3, really. One of them is 4 minutes long because it was my very first party wipe, but it came right after a crash. So I opened it back up and went back in and died to the freaking harpies. But yeah, if you have any interest in watching raw and cut footage of me playing Baldur's Gate 3, it's there. Primarily, this is for me to have access to it in case I want it later. And it'll be where I throw narrative games streams, anything I want to save for later without having to eat up my hard drive space. It can eat up YouTube's hard drive space. Ha ha!
Nice.
But yeah, so I'm still streaming that. Come hang out. The last couple have been like me and Buster, my bear familiar, and no one else. So I'm like, is that a sign I should stop streaming this? If people lost interest? So let me know. If you have any interest, then let me know, because I really want to keep streaming it. But I will swap to something else if I have to. Like more Balatro. Holy crap, I love Balatro. If they ever make it to where Balatro has crossplay with its across all platforms, like your save counts on all platforms, then that will be the end of me. because I will just download it to my phone and you might never hear from me again. Maybe you have to add that guys have flat butts mod on Baldur's Gate 3. Is that why nobody's coming? Because the dudes have luscious asses and that's too woke? That's probably it. That is legit a mod that someone made because the guys' asses were too nice, and I guess that's woke or gay or something. I don't know. Happy Pride, everybody. As we record this, tomorrow is Friday the 13th, so try not to get killed at summer camp. It's the only one this year, I think, too, isn't it?
Huh. I did not know that.
12, 10, 14, and 12. Yeah, that's the only one this year. Because I don't think there was one in the first 6 months. March, February, January. Nope, there was not. So, you know, watch some Jason Voorhees movies or something. I wonder if that's part of why I don't like my name. Because the only Jasons that there were, like, in pop culture when I was young were Jason Voorhees, and that's it. Wasn't the main character, Tim Allen's character from Galaxy Quest, named Jason?
I do not remember that fact.
That's been a really long time.
But it's the best Star Wars movie. Jason Nesmith. Yeah, he was. But that was, you know, that was way later. That was 99. And then there was Jason Bourne. But by then that was 2002. So by then it was too late. Like there were no good Jasons back then. It's terrible. Except for me, which is why I'm not Jason. Jason Bateman is cool too. Yeah, but back then he was just some nerd on a sitcom. Like he wasn't cool then. He's cool now. Jason Bateman's awesome now. Anyway, I'm gonna stop. So, I think I'm supposed to do the Patreon thing, which I completely forgot about until just this second. I have changed where the bookmark is. There we go. So, hey, thank you to Al, Kim Ho, Scuzzo, Jake Jansen's, Michael, Timu Hellas, Haru, Violet Moon, Jason Kaus, one of the rare Jasons you can trust, Casey, Jason Doan, not sure about that one, ALK Alters, and Andrew Odie. Yay.
Woot woot.
So, yeah, hope everyone that went to the pre-release enjoyed it. I said that last week because I knew that episode wouldn't be out until after pre-releases, but it's still true. I still hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, go to an amusement park this summer, you know, if you want to. And with that, we'll be done now. So thank you all so very much for joining us. This has been a Dorks Just Chatting. And yeah, we will be back probably in 2 weeks. I'm just going to assume that we're not going to do another one of these without Brian, because Brian won't be around next week. But we'll find out. In the meantime, come hang out when I stream stuff, both during the day and at night. I've been doing daytime streams now. It's cool. And yeah, we'll be back. So bye, everybody.
Bye.